To pediatric endodontics, today's class we'll be discussing about pulpotomy in detail. So, what do you mean by pulpotomy? So, pulpotomy, according to Finn, he has defined it as a complete removal of the coronal portion of the dental pulp, followed by the placement of a suitable dressing or a medicament that will promote healing and preserving the vitality of the tooth. So, basically, you are just removing the coronal portion of the pulp. So here you can see here, this is the coronal portion of the pulp. So you're just removing the coronal portion of the pulp and you're placing some suitable medicament that will promote healing because there is a pulpal inflammation. That's why you're removing the coronal portion of the pulp. So you're placing a suitable dressing or a medicament that will promote healing and preserves the vitality of the tooth. That is how Finn has defined pulpotomy. So your pulpotomy means pulp plus otomy. That's how the term has come. That means to make an incision or a cut into the pulp. And pulpectomy means surgical excision, means you are excising the entire pulpal tissue. So that's why it's called as pulpectomy. Ectomy means removal. And otomy means to make an incision or a cut into. Means that's how we are cutting the coronal portion. We are removing the coronal portion of the pulp and you are placing in the medicament. That's why it's called as pulpotomy. So what do you mean? What is the objective? Why you need to do all this? The main objective is to maintain the tooth in the dental arch because obviously we all know that the natural space maintainer is your teeth. So placing the maintaining the tooth in the dental arch is the best thing you can do. Next thing is removal of the inflamed or infected coronal pulp because there will be some inflammation or infected coronal pulp will be there. So you're just removing beforehand and preserving the vitality of the radicular pulp so that and allowing it to heal by itself. So that is the two main objectives of why you are doing a pulpotomy. So when it comes to the maintenance of the tooth and the dental arch, it all comes about the preservation of the arch, preservation of the space in the arch, preservation of the integrity of the arch. All those things are all included when I say the maintenance of the tooth in the dental arch. Now coming to the rationale of pulpotomy. So the rationale is nothing but the same thing. You want to preserve the integrity of the pulp, so you want to preserve the vitality of the tooth. And next thing is you need to maintain the tooth in the arch. You need to maintain the masticatory function of the arch. So all those things is a rationale of doing a pulpotomy. Now next thing is this is the common thing you can get a question like indications and contraindications of pulpotomy. So whenever you're getting an essay question also you have to write this. So what I'm taking is I'm just exactly taking how you are supposed to write an essay or how you are supposed to write an exam. That way I'm just taking this topic. Okay. So when it comes to the indications means the cariously exposed primary tooth when their retention is more advantageous than extraction and the replacement with a space maintainer. Means you want to prevent the early loss of the tooth. You want to preserve the tooth of the arch. Okay, so you want to preserve the integrity of the arch. You want to preserve the masticatory function. So that is best to restore the tooth. So that is the first indication. Second is clinic and radiographic signs of radicular pulpal vitality. Clinic and radiographic signs of radicular pulpal vitality means there is no interradicular radiolucency present. There is no, interradicular bone is intact. There is no presence of, draining abscess. All those things are not there. Then pain. When it comes to the pain thing, okay, pain is present, but it's not a spontaneous pain because you know that when it is a spontaneous pain, which is indicative of or which gives a sign that there is an irreversible damage of the pulp has occurred. So the pain is not spontaneous, not persistent after the removal of the stimulus. Then the tooth should be restorable. Then the tooth with at least 2/3 of the root length should be present. Then the last but not the least, the hemorrhage, because once you are opening up the tooth, once the pulp is open, then there will be bleeding. Okay, so hemorrhage from the amputated site is bright red, and you should be able to control. The bright red bleeding means the bright red bleeding gives an indication that the tooth doesn't have much of bacterial infections. Okay, so the infection is less. So bright red means the tissue is very fresh. So the hemorrhage from the amputated site is bright red and easy to control. Now coming to the contraindications. In which all stages you are not supposed to do a pulpotomy. Okay. First thing is The root resorption exceeding more than one third of the root length means the more than one third of the root length is resorbed. Okay, you don't have a choice to do. So you cannot do a pulpotomy. The tooth crown is non-restorable, or the tooth is non-restorable. You cannot restore the tooth. It's badly damaged. You cannot go and do a what do you say, pulpotomy. Then the bleeding from the site is highly viscous, sluggish, or absent hemorrhage. Absent hemorrhage means the tooth is non-vital. Okay, is observed at the radicular coronal orifice. Then marked tenderness on percussion, mobility with localized aggravated gingivitis associated with partial or total radicular pulpal necrosis. Then the radiolucency existing in the furcation and periradicular areas, the persistent toothache, pus, all those things are the contraindications of pulpotomy. So again, I hope you guys understood what is the indications and contraindications of pulpotomy. So next thing what I'm trying to discuss is the classification, which almost when there is an essay question coming, it will be like a defined pulpotomy, classify pulpotomy, write it detail. That is how it goes. So when it classify, I have just put it in a diagrammatic format. That's all. So the pulpotomy can be broadly classified in two. There is a vital pulpotomy and a non-vital pulpotomy. In vital, again, it can be classified into three things. That is devitalization, regeneration, and preservation. When it comes to non-vital pulpotomy, that is partial pulpotomy or Chevek's pulpotomy, all those things comes under the non-vital pulpotomy. Then according to the removal of the coronal tissues, again, you can classify it as two. That is partial pulpotomy and a complete pulpotomy. So these are the classification of pulpotomy, which please you guys have to go back and read your textbook. It's very important. Now coming to the devitalization of pulpotomy. So devitalization pulpotomy is nothing but mummification, you can say, or cauterization, you can say. So your devitalization can be done in two types. One is one visit and a two visit type. One visit is done by Formoterol, electrosurgery, and laser. Two visit is by Geysi paste or paraformaldehyde devitalizing paste or Esselix formaldehyde. All those things we use for two visits. So basically, when it says devitalizing pulpotomy means destroying or mummifying the vital tissue. You are just destroying or mummifying the vital tissue, so that in future you won't have a problem. Next is the preservation. Preservation, the main materials used for preservation pulpotomy is zinc oxide, eugenol, glutaraldehyde, and ferric sulfate. So again, in preservation pulpotomy, it is otherwise called as a minimal devitalization or non-inductive type. So you can see here the maintain maximum vital tissue without induction or a reparative denting. So that is the preservation pulpotomy. And regeneration pulpotomy means otherwise you can say that inductive type or a reparative type. The materials used as calcium hydroxide or MTA, osteogenic proteins, freeze-dried bone, enriched collagen, then bone morphogenic proteins. These are all the different materials you use for regenerative pulpotomy. In regenerative pulpotomy, it's nothing but the formation of a dentin bridge. You are just forming a bridge or you're just forming a barrier. Okay, so that the entire radicular pulp will be vital and it don't have any problem. The vitality will be completely maintained. Whereas in devitalization, as the age advances, the chances of devitalizing the radicular pulp is more. So I hope you guys are clear with the classifications. I hope so. I'm just going ahead. So now, next short note you can get or short essay, what you can get is Formoterol or Buckley's Formoterol or Formoterol pulpotomy. That is the main next part or next question you can get in your exams. So Buckley's is the one who introduced Formoterol in 1904. So Buckley's contended that equal parts of formalin and triprazole would react chemically with the intermediate and end product of pulpal inflammation to form a new colorless, non-infective compound of a harmless nature. So Buckley's Formoterol, again, you should know the composition of Buckley's Formoterol. Formaldehyde is 19%, triprazole is 35%, glycerin is 15%, and water is 31%. So when you get a question as 3 marks as Buckley's Formoterol, it's if you write this one, okay, if you write this one, you can get more weightage for your marks. So coming to the mechanism of action of formoterol. So in spite of the histological studies showed that formalin, formalin, what it is. You might be very familiar with the formalin smell during your first year. Okay, so formalin and cresol and paraformaldehyde to be connective tissue irritant. It is recognized early that formoterol is an effective bactericidal. So formoterol has an effective bactericidal action, and what it does is when it binds with the tissue, okay, so it is found that it has an ability to prevent tissue autolysis by the complex chemical binding of formaldehyde with the peptide group. So there's a chemical binding that happens between the formaldehyde and the peptide group of formoterol with the tissue, so that will prevent the autolysis of the tissue, okay, of side chain of the amino acids without changing the basic structure of the protein molecule. So what it does is it fixes the tissue. So when it is applied on the surface of the tooth, it will fix the tissue. So fixation of the tissue is the one that happens. So directly under the medication was apparent, and after 7 to 14 days of application, the pulp develops the three distinctive zones. Again, in your answer, these three zones are very important. First is that on the topmost will be a fixed zone of fixation, then a broad eosinophilic zone of fixation, then a broad pale staining zone of poor cellular definition, and the third one is a zone of inflammation diffusing apically into the normal pulpal tissue. So these are the three distinct zones you can see in 7 to 15 days after the application of the formoterol. Then after 60 days, it is limited to number of samples, and the remaining tissues was believed to be completely fixed and appearing as a strand of eosinophilic fibrous tissue. So after 60 days, the entire pulpal tissue will be fixed, and it will be appearing, if you see histologically, it will be appearing as a strand of eosinophilic fibrous tissue. Now, coming to the history of formoterol pulpotomy. The first approach of pulpotomy treatment of primary tooth was introduced by Sweet in 1930 as a multiple visit technique, because that is how he started the pulpotomy. Then used as an mummify the tissue completely. Then Doyle in 1962 used two visit procedure, that is complete devitalization was used. Then Spedding in 1965 gave 5 minutes protocol, or a partial devitalization was introduced, and currently it has been told that 4-minute application of pulpotomy by the formoterol with the pulp is more than sufficient. So coming to the procedure of pulpotomy, first is you need to anesthetize the tooth and isolate with the rubber dam. Then access cavity preparation is done, and all the caries, when you are doing an access cavity preparation, the entire caries has to be removed. Then the entire roof of the pulp chamber is removed using a high-speed burr. Then all the coronal pulp is amputated with a slow-speed burr or a spoon excavator. So you can use a sharp spoon, a large spoon excavator to remove or ampute the entire coronal surface of the pulp. Then the pulp chamber is thoroughly washed with saline to remove all the debris. Then hemorrhage is controlled by slightly moisten the cotton pellet placed over the pulp. You can place the moist cotton pellet over the surface of the amputated pulpal tissue, so that the hemorrhage is being controlled. Then apply diluted formoterol the pulp using a cotton pellet. Then leave it for 4 minutes. Then you remove the cotton and see. Once you remove the cotton and see, you can see that the fixation, the entire, you can see a dark brown color will be seen on the floor of the pulp chamber, which shows the signs of fixation of the tissue, and there won't be any bleeding from the amputated side. Then the cavity is then filled with zinc oxygenol paste and giving a permanent restoration, then followed by the placement of the crown. So this is the procedure for a single visit formoterol pulpotomy. So what I explained, that is what I'm just showing in a picture diagram. You are anesthetizing the tooth and you are placing a rubber dam, then doing an access cavity, and the pulp chamber is removed. Then this is the coronal pulp tissue is removed. Then you are irrigating. Then the hemorrhage is controlled using cotton. Then again you are placing the pellet dipped in formoterol for 5 minutes, I mean 4 minutes. Then you are placing a zinc oxygenol. The zinc oxygenol should come till here. Till here, the means the till the uh, till where you have amputated the coronal pulp. Till there, for the zinc oxygenol has to flow. Then on top of that, you are giving a permanent respiration, and then followed by a placement of the crown. So that is how the uh, procedure of pomocrosol pulpotomy goes. Then comes the toxic effects of formaldehyde. So the people say that it has got an anti-carcinogenic or carcinogenic effect is present, but the studies have proven that the using a 1:5 dilution of formocrosol, the carcinogenic effect is very minimal. It's nil. It won't enter to the bloodstream. So that aspect, the carcinogenic aspect, has been that risk of carcinogenic aspect has been removed by performing the studies in multiple studies in the uh, primary tool. So next comes the when again when somebody says that there's some toxic effect is there, or there is some there is a carcinogenic effect is there, means you have to think of an alternative for formoprosols in primary tool. So when it comes to the alternative for primary formocrosol, the first thing next comes is a zinc oxygenol pulpotomy. Zinc oxygenol was the first agent that is used for preservation. So it comes under the preservation type of pulpotomy. But studies have showed that eugenol possesses a destructive procedure. So the main problem is eugenol is always an irritant. So that cannot be directly placed onto the pulp. So always that there will be irritation of the pulpal tissue will be there. So success rates of zinc oxygenol pulpotomy was much less than that of the formocrosol pulpotomy. Major drawback of zinc oxygenol pulpotomy is nothing but the internal resorption because of the constant irritation of the eugenol. Then the resultant inflammation will be there and internal resorption is there, which was the major failure of zinc oxygenol pulpotomy. Next is the glutaraldehyde pulpotomy. So glutaraldehyde pulpotomy was again 2% glutaraldehyde was suggested to use as a pulpotomy agent in primary tooth, and that also comes under the preservation approach. So the major mechanism of action of glutaraldehyde is the histological picture of glutaraldehyde treated pulp shows a zone of superficial fixation. So there will be a zone of superficial fixation will be there with little underlying inflammation. So a large amount of radicular pulp tissue remains vital. So the preservation of the entire radicular pulp is vital when compared to that of the formocrosol pulpotomy. So major disadvantages of disadvantages of glutaraldehyde pulpotomy is the solution is unstable. So glutaraldehyde is unstable, so you cannot store it for a longer time. Then neither optimum concentration nor application time has been established. Nobody knows how long you are supposed to keep the glutaraldehyde. Then the lower levels of clinical success with increasing in time. As the year go pass away, the glutaraldehyde success rates comes less when compared to that of the formocrosol pulpotomy. So what are the advantages of glutaraldehyde pulpotomy? Is superior fixation by cross linkage with proteins, excellent antibacterial, then self-limiting penetration. It won't penetrate much deeper into the tissue. Then less necrosis and pulpal tissue, rapidly metabolized, less toxicity and less systemic distribution. Now next is the ferric sulfate pulpotomy. That is again comes under the preservation approach. So ferric sulfate is a non-aldehyde chemical which can be used commonly as an astringent. So you know what is ferric sulfate is. Ferric sulfate is commonly used as an astringent. So the mechanism of action of the mechanism of action. So coming to the mechanism of action, the mechanism of action is still unclear. So it was proposed that the ferric sulfate might prevent the problem encountering with the clot formation and thereby minimizing the chances of inflammation and internal resorption. So possibly the metal ions or the ferric ions will react with them or will react with the protein that is or hemoglobin present in the blood. So it will form a metal protein clot at the surface of the pulp stem and act as a barrier to the irritative components of the subbase. So that is the mechanism of action of ferric sulfate. So coming to the application, that is 15.5% solution of ferric sulfate is applied to the radicular pulp stems of 10 for 10 to 15 seconds. Then it might be applied using a cotton pellet or be allowed as a droplet into the droplet of the solution to dip from the burnisher tip into the surface of the pulpal tissue. So you can take it in the burnisher tip and you can place the tip of the burnisher onto the pulpal tissue. So one thing what I want to tell you is I'm just talking about the material. The procedure is the same, which I have explained earlier. The access cavity preparation, everything is the same. I'm just so when they ask ferric sulfate means this part you need to write instead of the other one. So rest everything is the same. Coming to the success, both ferric sulfate and formoterol pulpotomies gives similar good clinical and radiographic results with high tooth survival rates. So these are the picture of diagrammatic representation of ferric sulfate pulpotomy. So you can see the clot is formed. Then the access cavity is filled, and you can give stainless steel crown has been given to the patient. Now next comes the MTA pulpotomy. So you guys know what is MTA, what is the composition of MTA. So I'm not going in detail about all that. Next, MTA is a current new material that can be used as an pulpotomy agent. So what is the benefit of MTA is MTA pulpotomy comes under the preservation type. It comes under the preservation type. It comes under the regenerative. So it comes under the MTA pulpotomy comes under the regenerative type of pulpotomy. So what I explained earlier in regenerative pulpotomy, the entire radicular pulp will be vital. There is no invasion of the agent into the radicular pulp, and it will be a dentin bridge that will be formed. So when you again the entire coronal pulp is removed, okay, then the bleeding is being controlled. Then you are placing a layer of MTA onto the surface of the coronal pulp. So entire thick dentinal bridge or thick calcific bridge will be formed. That bridge acts as a roof of the pulp chamber, or it can act as a roof for the radicular pulp chamber, or it acts as a barrier. And the entire radicular pulp will be vital. And again, you give a permanent restoration, and you are supposed to give a stainless steel crown. So only drawback of MTA pulpotomy is that the re-entry means if at all, if there is a secondary infection comes, the re-entry to the pulpal chamber and again cleaning the radicular pulp is not possible. I won't say it's not possible, but it's difficult. So that is the only disadvantage of an MTA pulpotomy. So these are all the questions. What I'm saying is these are all the questions that has been asked also. That is why I'm stressing and telling MTA pulpotomy was a short note. Formoterol pulpotomy was a short note. Define pulpotomy, classify pulpotomy, write in detail about formoterol pulpotomy was a short note. Ferric sulfate pulpotomy was a short note. Then once they have asked glutaraldehyde pulpotomy also. Then Buckley's formoterol is a short essay or a short note also. So please read. This is a very important topic. At least sometimes you might get an essay also from this particular topic. So thank you so much.